Hey Scotty, it's me. I know Orchesis was already last weekend, and I did invite you to that behind the picture. I hope that you saw. I didn't get to invite you on stage because people were always in here working, but this is like a little late thank you for joining me because I knew you were there. Victor's filming a really cool film project right now, doing a documentary on you, so hopefully you'll get to see that at some point wherever it is on campus. But I'm really glad that you got to join us this weekend, and it was nice that you were there. I hope you didn't mind us using your space with so many people that you probably don't know yet, but hopefully you'll welcome them back with open arms next time they're here. One Acts is coming up. I hope you'll be there too, and I love you, man. Thanks for everything.
My name is Bradford Sadler. I teach in the Department of Theater and Dance here at Ohio Wesleyan University. I'm also an Ohio Wesleyan graduate. I graduated in 2005, and I was a theater major while I was here. What I know about Scotty is when I was a student, the way the story was told to me was that Scott Chandler was a major, I think, in the department, and he was in the original production in the building in Chappelear Drama Center when it opened in October, I think, of 1972. It was As You Like It. As it was told to me, he passed away not long after he graduated. Why? I don't think I remember what the circumstances were, but he passed away not long after graduation, and Dr. Raby, who was chair of the department then and when I was a student, what I was told is that Dr. Raby went to the funeral and brought Scott's ghost back with him. That's what I was told.
So my freshman year, my first show that I got to do here at OWU was Merchant of Venice, and I was playing one of the ladies in waiting, and we were in rehearsal one day, and there were these giant, 12 or 14 foot black flats up against the walls that helped mask off some of the Juliets, because we had our own Juliets built further center stage. And Maddie Oslasik, who had helped run scenes, had not invited Scotty to scenes, and it's notorious that Scotty messes with the following show as well as the show that's already happening if he can. And Maddie and I were standing together side stage for the scene that we were working on, and all of a sudden we hear this creaking behind us, and both of us turned just in time to see this 14-foot flat falling on top of us, and just in time to bolt out of the way. That was one of the most terrifying moments of my life. And then there was I heard a little snicker from the Juliet, and then it went away, and that was it. That was the most disturbing experience of my life. That's the day I gained Scotty's respect, I hope, for moving fast enough, but...
So my experience with Scotty was actually very recent. It was just the other day, and I had finished inviting Scotty to the performance of The Bear and Medea. I had just finished inviting him with my fellow stage manager, and we were cleaning up the space, and we were locking everything up and closing all the doors. And I had just walked out from a pair of doors, just closing them up. And these were doors that, they're well maintained, and they're not loud, they don't close slowly typically. I plowed past them, and I heard a creaking sound, very high pitched, and I paused because I'd never heard that sound before, and I turned around, and the doors were closing extremely slowly. I had never seen them close this slowly before. I even asked the next day if anyone had ever noticed them doing that before, and no one had. And I watched them close, and I listened to this creaking sound, and by the time they finished closing, I kind of paused for a second, and I felt this random surge of positivity wash over me, and I just had this innate certainty that this was a sign from Scotty that he had heard my invitation and was grateful for it. And I had received his blessing, if one would.
Hey, Scotty. So, I know I've been here for 4 years and I haven't really ever talked to you, and that's like really, really a shame. But like, I've just been interested in you lately and all the stories that people have been telling about you, and like, I was just wondering if you could show me if you were really here tonight. I turned on these lights around us in the square, and I was wondering if maybe you could make one of them flicker or something. I know I don't really deserve for you to show me anything, but like, it'd be kind of interesting and we could get more people to know about you and who you really are.
Next semester I'll be stage managing, and stage managing is sort of a rite of passage in getting to contact you, so is there a chance I can have any kind of early introduction?
So I'm really sensitive to like seeing like specters and spirits and like that sort of thing. It's been happening since I was a kid, and like I've just like accepted it. So like a couple weeks back, I was like waiting in the lobby for lights crew, and so it was like kind of dark, and like people were like in and out of rehearsal and stuff like that, and I was just like sitting at the coffee table in the lobby, and then like I looked up and there was like this person between like the drinking fountain and like the main theater doors, and just like standing there, and then like looked at me, and then like went down that hallway like to backstage, and then I was like, oh, like was that Scotty? But then I didn't like see him again until like a week later on the other side of the theater doors, like also by the water fountain, and so I'm like, I guess that was Scotty. I wasn't scared or anything, but it was just like definitely a figure, like very clear.
Hi, Scotty. I know being a stage manager is sort of a rite of passage of being able to communicate with you, and I will be stage managing next semester, and I was wondering if maybe this could count as an early introduction and just really getting to see who you are and your impact here in the theater. So is there any chance that you could maybe show yourself in any way whatsoever, presence-wise?
Maybe make the lights flicker?
So freshman year, I was in a dual role with a senior named Christian Sanford, and we had gotten really close with that role, and the show was Merchant of Venice at Shakespeare. It's great, I love it. And during a rehearsal, it was just a normal rehearsal on the main stage, the garage door was up, and we could see into the studio theater, and you can view the booth just from looking into the studio theater from the open garage door. And the lights were flickering onto the booth, and we were just wasn't sure what's going on. There was no tech run-through happening. There was no tech being done for senior projects at the time. There was just no reason it should be happening. So what we decided to do was sneak around and find out who was in the booth, because that was just the kind of person Christian was. So we naturally went around the corridors, met at the entrance to the booth when the lights were still flickering, and we walked in there and there was just nothing happening. So I'd like to say that was my first experience with Scotty. He didn't really mess with the show, and I think it was just his way of being like, hi, you're new here. I'm not. I've been here a while.
All right, the last thing we're going to try tonight is we all got our flashlights on our phones. I've got mine on, Charlie and Yam. What we're going to do is we're going to put these down like that. And Scotty, buddy, if you're with us, could you please do me a solid and try to mess with our flashlights? Could you either turn them off, or could you make them flicker, like one at a time, or something interesting like that? We would be really appreciative. Why don't you guys ask?
Or even still, do you want to mess with the lights in this room? I know that most of the technology that you messed with comes solely through what's installed here in the theater. The theater is your domain. Maybe turn one of the lights on?
So, my encounter with Scotty also happened relatively recently. During Lights Crew for the production for Medea and the Bear, I went upstairs to go get a few gels that we needed to put on lights, and while everyone else was hanging and focusing everything, I just ran up alone, not thinking anything about it, not turning on the lights because I know my way around up there. And when I went to go get the gels, I kept on hearing rattling from the table that I was behind, and there's no air ducts around there. It wasn't windy, it wasn't rainy, but I heard a gel fall off of the table, and it was in the center, and it just decided to fling itself off.
I have had personal experiences with Scotty. One in particular, I was props head for a show, and I was doing something, and I set my keys down somewhere. So it was keys to get into the building, to get into prop storage and the props cabinets. So these were big deal type of keys. Set them down on a box and went to go do something. And when I came back, like 2 minutes later, the keys were gone. There really wasn't anyone else that I could see in the theater anywhere around me, but I was pretty freaked out because these were keys, and if I had lost them, that would be bad news, and I'd be in a lot of trouble. So I had to run around and look all over the theater. I couldn't find them. I remember I went all the way back to the dorm that I was living in, which was Smith, I think, at the time. They weren't there, so then I came all the way back to the theater, and suddenly the keys were just back where I left them on the box, as if they had never left, but they were not there previously. So the only thing I can think of is that Scott took them. When you're in the building late at night, it never hurts to say, like, hi, Scott, just so he knows that you're there. And obviously it's always wise to invite him to the show before the production happens. Whether you believe in it or not, I think it's wise to just go ahead and do that, because what does it hurt to do that? It's better to just cover all your bases, I would say.
Okay, I am out in the main house. I'm looking out onto the stage, and hey Scotty, I don't know if you're listening to me, but I've got my flashlight here, and I was just wondering if you could do anything to it. Maybe if you could make it blink or flicker, or if you could even turn the lights on in here, that would be the best. So, could you do anything with the light? Could you turn it off? Could you make it blink? Anything at all, buddy? Anything at all?